What's up guys, Causeway Giant here, and today we're going to be delving into the not-so-secret true identity of Rey's missing father. And he is, of course...
Mr. called Jar Jar Binks. Mr. your humble servant.
That won't be necessary.
Oh, but it is. It is demanded by the gods, it is.
Whether you thought The Force Awakens was a glorious masterpiece capable of compensating for a certain Gungan that you all remember, or if you thought J.J. Abrams basically did the movie equivalent of copying and pasting a Wikipedia article onto your empty essay for history, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that there is a certain mystery of the movie that we would all like to know the answer to, and that is, of course, who are Rey's parents? And with that comes several side mysteries such as, why did they leave her alone on Jakku? How is Rey Force sensitive? Are they still alive? And most important of all, is Jar Jar Binks Supreme Leader Snoke? But never fear, fellow nerds, for we will uncover the answers to all these questions in this video. Well, except the last one. I mean, that one was confirmed in the official Half-Life 3 trailer. So without further ado, let's hit the hyperdrive and dive straight into this theory. Okay, before we proceed any further into this video, I'm going to usher in a quick spoiler alert as we're going to be covering major plot details from Star Wars The Force Awakens, obviously. But let's be honest, you know you've seen this movie. But if you've been living under a rock for the past 8 months, then click off this video, go watch the movie and come straight back. Don't worry, I'll still be here. Okay, all the Trekkies are out of here? Good, now let's begin. Now, there's been a lot of theories floating around the internet regarding the true identity of Rey's parents. One of the biggies is that Rey's daddy is none other than Mr. Handyman himself, Luke Skywalker. There is a lot of evidence supporting this theory, and it does also answer a number of questions. For example, Luke is the son of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin was, as stated in the prequels, the Chosen One, a powerful Jedi who would bring balance to the Force. He of course did this by literally throwing the Dark Lord of the Sith into an exploding reactor hundreds of feet below him. Jeez, talk about overkill like. Anyway, Anakin was one of the most powerful Jedi of all time. Unfortunately, or fortunately if you're on Team Rebel Alliance, he never reached his full potential due to the fact that he had all of his limbs cut off and nearly burned to death on Mustafar. Despite this, all them super enhanced midichlorians from everyone's favourite Sith, and also everyone's least favourite Jedi, went into his son, Luke. Luke was also a powerful Jedi, capable of defeating Vader with very little training, and therefore any child of his would also have been very Force sensitive. This answers many questions, such as why Rey is able to use the Force, and why she is so good at everything. I mean, seriously, she can literally do anything first try without any prior training. Like, she hotwired the Millennium Falcon, skillfully flew it through a Star Destroyer to evade TIE fighters. Heck, she even defeated Kylo Ren, who apparently managed to defeat the entirety of Luke's Jedi Order and become the new formidable apprentice of the Sith. Either Rey is some kind of god, or Kylo's just a bit of a sissy. Like, even a freaking Stormtrooper was able to hold his own against Kylo for a while. Like, come on! Anyway, that would explain Rey's ability to use the Force. Also, that Luke gives at the... There's a bit of a tongue twister this. That look Luke gives at the end of the film to Rey is just like, whoa, you're my daughter, and you're totally like how I was at your age. Wait a minute. You're totally like how I was at your age. Like, you literally just went through the exact same story I had in A New Hope. And when you think about it, Star Wars is a story about the Skywalker family. The prequel trilogy was about Anakin Skywalker, the original trilogy was about Luke Skywalker, and the sequel trilogy will be... Wait, that doesn't sound right. Like, the prequels are already sequels of the original trilogy, but they're actually prequels. And these new sequels coming out are sequels of prequels, but they come out after the originals. Ugh, I'm confused. Let's just call them the trilogy that has BB-8 in it. That'll be easier. Aw, look at his little cute dome. Right, who would absolutely love a BB-8 as a pet? I mean, come on. I thought R2 was cute and then you gave me this? Why do you do this to me, Star Wars? Anyway, the new movies could be about Rey Skywalker to tie up the Skywalker story. This would also explain why the Skywalker lightsaber was drawn to her, not Kylo, on the Death Star 3. Oh, sorry, I mean Starkiller Base. And why when she touched it, she saw visions, unlike when Finn touched it and saw nothing. So that's it. Video's over. Luke's Rey's dad. I called it. We can all go home, play with our Star Wars toys, and put our minds at rest over this whole parentage thing. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more. Bye! Or is he? Ha! Fooled you guys, right? To be honest, I know you all checked the progress bar of this video to see if it really was ending now, or if there was more left. but I get 10 points for Gryffindor for trying, right? Anyway, there is quite a lot of evidence against Luke being Rey's father. The biggest problem being that it is forbidden for a Jedi to love or to take a spouse, as in the Jedi Code it states there is no passion, there is serenity. Well, there is no emotion, there is peace. There is no death, there is the Force. Jeez, the Jedi Code kind of makes the Jedi sound like some kind of cult. Ugh. So this is a bit of a problem for Luke, because as I'm sure you all know, to have a baby you need a man and a woman, and for them to actually best not go into the details. So if it is forbidden for a Jedi to love, this makes it impossible for Luke to have a child. And being under the guidance of the Force ghosts of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and the rest of those guys, you'd think they'd make sure that Luke follows the code, being the last Jedi in existence and everything. And even if Rey was Luke's kid, why would he just abandon her and Jakku in the hands of the Portions dude played by Simon Pegg? That doesn't sound like the Jedi way to me. So let's move on to some other candidates to fit the identity of Rey's parents. This one seems to be quite well received by people, and it is that Rey is the daughter of our favourite Star Wars couple. No, the other one. No, how would that even make any sense? Come on, it's not that hard. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That's just disgusting. Ugh. Finally! Yeah, quite a few people believe Han and Leia are Rey's parents. This is a possibility. It also explains who Rey's mother is, and it has some arguments going for it. Like, Leia's Vader's kid too, so she is just as able to become a Jedi as Luke was. So, just like the Luke theory, this covers the problem of how she got her epic Force skills. And it also explains why Leia hugged Rey instead of Chewie following Han's death, which was totally not okay, but more so okay if she was consoling her kid over the death of her father. But still not okay! And this would also explain why Han was so willing to let her join their crew. Like, Han's quite a stubborn guy, and if he hasn't recruited anyone bar Chewie to be on his crew until this point, it's clear he wouldn't offer a job to just anyone. But I'm sure he'd love to have his daughter on board working with him. But wait, again, if Han and Leia are Rey's parents, why would they leave her on Jakku? They kept Kylo after all, so why would they not keep Rey? And speaking of Kylo, who, when you think about it, is just a whiny gothic teenager with anger issues, how did he not notice that she was his brother? Like, the dude basically went inside her mind. You'd think he would have found some sort of proof in there somewhere. So that rules out Han and Leia as suspects of being Rey's parents. Still not convinced? Still think that Luke or Han and Leia are Rey's parents? If you are, one, geez, you are a tough nut to crack. And two, here's what J.J. Abrams, yes, the actual guy that directed the movie, has to say about it. Rey's parents are not in episode 7, so I can't possibly say in this moment who they are. But I will say it is something that Rey thinks about too. So who else is there? I mean, they can't just be some random dudes off the block. At least one parent would have to be Force sensitive to explain Rey's powers. So who else is left? And don't say Jar Jar. He said isn't the answer to every Star Wars theory, okay? No, dear viewers, for the true identity of at least Rey's father has been staring us in the face for actually, hasn't really. I mean, the guy only has about 18 minutes of screen time, and for the most part of that, he didn't even say anything. That's right. The true identity of Rey's father is Boba Fett. What? I hear you say? But wait, I know it sounds far-fetched, but hear me out. Despite his very limited screen time, Boba Fett was a fan favourite ever since he was introduced in the Star Wars Holiday Special. And for those of you thinking, what? There's a whole other Star Wars movie I haven't seen? I need this now! Trust me, do not watch it. Do not go anywhere near that steaming pile of bantha fodder. Princess Leia literally sings, Luke's tan makes him look like he's made of plastic. The whole cast just want to erase it from existence. Anthony Daniels, who plays C-3PO to those that don't know, described it as the horrible holiday special that nobody talks about. I mean, look at this summary from Nathan Rabin of the AV Club. I'm not convinced the special wasn't ultimately written and directed by a sentient bag of cocaine. Like, geez, a sentient bag of cocaine? But trust me, he has a point. I mean, just look at this. Like, seriously, who thought this was a good idea? You're telling me that the amazing cast of one of the most beloved film trilogies of all time didn't think this was going to be an absolute disaster? Like, come on guys, you're better than this. Well, rant over. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so Boba Fett has always been popular, as it's a proven scientific fact that he is the best, most awesomest character of all time. Well, okay, that might just be personal opinion, but nevertheless, he was adored by fans in The Empire Strikes Back and in Return of the Jedi. And due to the pathetic death he received in Jedi, like, you're telling me the best bounty hunter of all time got killed by a blind man accidentally knocking his jetpack? The fans were outraged by this. George Lucas himself stated, "Had I known he was going to turn into such a popular character, I probably would have made it a little bit more exciting." However, in the expanded universe, or EU, it has been confirmed that Boba escaped the Sarlacc pit using a thermal detonator. Those seem to be like the get out of jail free cards of Star Wars, and then crawling out of it. Awesome, so Boba survived. Or did he? You see, prior to the release of The Force Awakens, it was revealed that the EU was no longer canon. This had me stumped for a while, but then I found the proof we need to prove Fett's survival of the Sarlacc pit. Take a look at this clip from one of DICE's Star Wars Battlefront trailers.
That won't happen again.
As you can see, Boba says in his epic voice, "That won't happen again." Now, that implies that he's been in there before, in Return of the Jedi, and then escaped. And best of all, Disney revealed that Star Wars Battlefront is canon to the Star Wars universe. So there's our proof that Boba survived his encounter with a giant tentacled butthole. But how does that make him Rey's dad? Well, first, let's talk genetics. That's right, boys, I'm bringing science into this. You see, in humans, each cell normally contains 46 chromosomes, 23 from the father and 23 from the mother. Chromosomes carry information in the form of genes. Some genes are slightly different to other ones with small differences in the sequences of their DNA bases. These genes are called alleles. These differences are what gives us our unique features and traits that set us apart from other people. For example, what color our eyes are, if we can roll our tongue or not, if we prefer Star Wars or Star Trek. These special alleles can be separated into two classes, dominant and recessive. The recessive allele only shows if the person has 2 copies of it, whereas the dominant allele will always show even if the person only has 1 copy of it. A typical example of this is eye color. In eye color, the dominant color is brown and the recessive color is blue. For this scenario, we can pretend that both parents of a child have a dominant and recessive allele for eye color. So, by this Punnett square, which is basically just a chart showing all the different gene combinations a child can have, we can see that the child would have a high chance of having brown eyes because the dominant allele is present in 3 gene combinations and only 1 is entirely recessive. The Punnett square works for almost every scenario when working out gene types using the difference in dominant and recessive alleles. Now let's put this sciencey information to good use and see what it means for our theory. Apart from eye color, the 2 most popular ways to show if people are related by these genetics are whether the person can roll their tongue or not and if their earlobes are attached or free. And because neither Rey or Boba Fett started randomly rolling their tongues in the Star Wars movies, we can't use tongue rolling to tell if they're related or not. But wait, maybe they didn't ever roll their tongues because neither of them can. Proof that Boba's Rey's dad! Yay! No, that's not gonna cut it. Let's try the earlobe one. For earlobes, the dominant allele is for the earlobe to be free, and the recessive allele is for the earlobe to be attached. So, for the child to have free earlobes, at least one parent would need to have free earlobes as well. And for the child to have attached earlobes, both parents must also have attached earlobes. In The Force Awakens, there are plenty of opportunities for us to see that Rey has free earlobes, meaning that for Boba to be her dad, he must also have free earlobes. Unfortunately, because Boba never took off his helmet, we can't tell what his face looked like in adulthood. However, luckily, he made a sneaky appearance in the canon Clone Wars TV show as a kid. In this, we see that Boba also has free earlobes. This is good, but we're gonna need more proof. Let's try eye color. As I've said before, in eye color, the dominant allele is brown and the recessive allele is blue. Oh, and for those that are wondering what allele green is, it is like ultra recessive, super rare and unlikely. Nearly as rare and unlikely, in fact, as Arsenal's chances of winning the Premier League. Oh snap! Turned down for what, am I right? To be honest, I can't talk. I support Newcastle. Hashtag life in the championship. Anyway, Rey's eyes are brown. Just like the earlobe scenario, Boba would need to have brown eyes as well to fit the bill of being Rey's parent. And again, he passes the test. But just in case you're still not convinced, let's use one more differing genetic feature. Hair color. In hair color, brown is the dominant allele and blonde is the recessive. The chances of having ginger hair, similarly to green eyes, are slim. Once again, Rey has the dominant allele in this situation, and luckily for the theory, so does Boba. So great! Their genetics are a perfect match, but it's gonna take more than some random science stuff to convince y'all guys, right? Don't worry, I got some more proof in the bag. One of the biggest arguments against this theory is that Boba is a clone of Jango. He doesn't have any force sensitivity. You're wrong, you scruffy looking nerf herder. Well, allow me to explain. In Attack of the Clones, we are introduced to the characters of Jango Fett, Boba's father, and his son Boba Fett, who was 10 at the time. When Obi-Wan visits Kamino, he is told by Lama Su, the Prime Minister of Kamino, that Jedi Master Sifo Dyas requested the Kaminoans to build the Galactic Republic a clone army. What, you don't remember this because you fell asleep in this scene? Look guys, the prequels aren't that bad. Like, once you take away the horrific CGI, Aiden Christensen's acting, and ugh. Jar Jar. The prequels are awesome. Kenobi and Palpatine are awesome. The score is magnificent. The battles are epic. The vehicles are super cool. We get to see so many new planets. And let's be honest, the outstanding choreography for the lightsaber fights made Kenobi and Vader's fight in A New Hope look like two people poking at each other with glow sticks. Anyway, so Lama Su later reveals that the template for the clone army was Jango Fett. And look at this scene that reveals Jango's terms to us.
Apart from his pay, which is considerable, Fett demanded only one thing. An unaltered clone for himself. Curious, isn't it?
So obviously this unaltered clone was Boba Fett, as we literally see him later in the movie. Now this is where the conspiracy starts, so put on your Illuminati glasses and let's proceed. The corrupt Kaminoan government were fully aware that the clones were fitted with biochips, making it possible for Darth Sidious to issue Order 66. They must have done this themselves, yet they obviously kept this a secret from Kenobi when he visited. So it's not much of a stretch to believe that they kept other secrets from him. Like, maybe they added a little bit of secret sauce when they made Boba, a secret recipe kind of thing that would set him apart from other clones. Yes, I'm talking about Fett asking for more than just money and a son. He demanded the Kaminoans to bestow his son with midichlorians to allow him to use the Force to have the edge on others in life. The Kaminoans instructed a reluctant Master Sifo Dyas to follow through with this, so Sifo Dyas took a blood sample of himself and injected it into Boba's fetus. Aha, it all makes sense now. That would explain how Boba was such a good bounty hunter. Like, he's been called the greatest bounty hunter of all time, so you'd think he'd have some sort of booster over other bounty hunters. He would be able to allow the Force to guide him through his many perilous missions, in the same way that Luke used the Force to blow up the Death Star. This also explains how in Season 2, Episode 21 of the Clone Wars TV show titled R2 Come Home, fellow Force-sensitive bounty hunter Aurra Sing was able to track down Fett's pod from all the rest. She must have felt the presence of a fellow Force user. We've seen this happen before, for example when Luke was able to tell that Vader was on the Super Star Destroyer Executor in Return of the Jedi, and when Leia was able to find Luke after he fell down Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back. Aha, but this could be just coincidence, I hear you say. Maybe Boba told Aurra exactly which escape pod he and the clone cadets were going to use beforehand. Unlikely, but possible. So you want more proof? Okay. When Rey, Finn and Han visit Maz Kanata's castle in The Force Awakens, there are a number of various banners up, but if you look very closely, you will notice that one of these banners has a brown mythosaur skull on it, the symbol of the planet Mandalore, where Boba's armor came from, and a symbol fashioned by Fett on his left shoulder pad. Okay, so Boba happened to have the same symbol as Mandalore, so maybe there's a Mandalorian in Maz Kanata's castle. Not necessarily Boba Fett. I mean, it is the symbol of an entire planet, so loads of people are going to have this symbol somewhere on their person. So what else? Well, directly next to the mythosaur banner we see another banner with this symbol on it. This is the wheat symbol, and happens to be the clan crest of, you guessed it, the Fetts. See, the Fett's name was a literal translation drawn from the Mandalorian word Vet, which means farmer. Jango's ancestors were farmers on Mandalore, and hence their designated clan crest was this wheat symbol which we see here on this banner. And although Jango Fett didn't feel it necessary to add this symbol onto his armor, Boba Fett felt it was important enough to add his family crest onto his right breastplate along with a brown mythosaur skull on his left shoulder pad. So the presence of these symbols on these banners directly next to each other proves that Boba Fett is present or frequently visits Maz Kanata's castle. So what does Boba's frequent presence at Maz's castle mean for the theory? Well, remember earlier I was saying that Force users are able to feel the presence of other Force users, especially if the Force users are family? Well, Rey's blind determination to find her parents may have inadvertently led her to the place where her father resides at most. Like, even though it appeared that Solo escorted Rey to Maz's, maybe Rey, without realizing, made him do this, as she wants to see her parents so badly. Take a look at what Yoda says about the Force in this scene from Empire.
Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
The Force binds us. This could mean that the Force helps us come together. It explains how Leia was able to find Luke on Cloud City, because he is her family and they're linked by the Force as they are the same. It's the same with Boba and Rey. The Force that flows within Rey is altering Han's mind to get Rey back to her father in Maz's castle because they are of one, binded by the Force if you like. However, Boba, also being a Force user, must have felt Rey's presence and fled the planet, as seeing her would have reminded him of the pain of abandoning her. This is why when Maz yells, Boba doesn't recognize Han and try to kill him, as he's already left the planet. This also explains what Maz means when she says, whomever you're waiting for on Jakku, they're never coming back. This is because Boba Fett will never allow Rey to see him again, as he does not want to be reminded of this suffering from his past. But why? Why does he not want to see his kid? Well, let's take a quick look again at this clip from Rey's vision of child Rey getting left behind by her parents.
Quiet, girl.
As I've said before, we can see that the Portion Stew, played by Simon Pegg, right, okay, I need to stop calling him that. Let's see here, Unkar Plutt? I suppose it's not as weird as Jedi Bob. Yes, he's actually a thing. He was in Attack of the Clones and was named Jedi Bob in the LEGO Star Wars Visual Dictionary. It's just so un-Star Warsy, if that's even a word. Anyway, the Portion Stew, Unkar Plutt was present when Rey was abandoned by her parents, as we hear his distinctive voice say "Quiet girl" after Rey demands her parents to come back. This is interesting. As we all know, bounty hunters and smugglers aren't ones to shy away from gambling. For example, Lando Calrissian lost the Millennium Falcon to Han Solo in a game of cards. It's also clear that Unkar Plutt enjoys a bit of gambling himself, as when Rey and Finn take off in the Millennium Falcon, we hear him yell, so he must have somehow won the Millennium Falcon from either Han Solo or some other unknown owner in similar circumstances to how Lando lost it. So that begs the question that maybe he struck a deal with Boba Fett at some stage, and here's what I think that deal could have been. You see, Plutt isn't just a fat trader resembling a blobfish. He's actually quite a powerful figure in the Nima outpost on Jakku. He actually had a number of hired mercenaries to both protect him and to make sure none of his workers step out of line and start selling scrap themselves. Plutt is a very wealthy man due to the high prices he sells his scrap at, allowing him to gamble and pay for his mercenaries. Now, in the EU, I know that's not canon anymore, but it's still interesting. Boba Fett had a wife called Sintas Vel, who was a bounty hunter like him. This would make sense that Boba Fett, having survived the Sarlacc, would later want to start a family to continue the powerful Fett line of bounty hunters. So it would have been likely that the woman Boba would have gotten together with would have been a bounty hunter, like Sintas Vel, as bounty hunters are despised by basically everyone else. So the only real way they were going to be able to find love is with other bounty hunters. And it would also give them an advantage when taking bounties, as having a teammate who you can trust would help a lot. Anyway, Boba and his lucky lady would have worked together as partners in crime for years until eventually deciding that they wanted a baby. I'm going to gloss over the details, but they would eventually have a child to raise as the next great Fett bounty hunter, a girl named Rey. However, this is where all goes south for our big happy family. See, in the story of Sintas Vel in the EU, she takes on a bounty in order to give her and Boba's child, called Aelin Vel, a birthday present for her 16th birthday. However, Vel, being more careless than Boba, was reportedly killed on this mission. This would bode well for our theory, as Boba, being a prestige bounty hunter, would probably want his wife to be someone who he can teach as well. Take her on as an apprentice if you like. However, bounty hunters are stubborn and don't like being talked down to by others. So Boba's wife probably wouldn't have listened to his teachings, leading Vel to become reckless. One of her bounties could have led her to attempting to assassinate Plutt, as his corrupt hold over Nima outpost would have made him a very hated person. Or a very hated whatever he is. Like seriously, there are some weird looking aliens in the Star Wars universe. Not being spacist or anything, just saying. So Boba's wife may have took this bounty in order to pay for a birthday present for her very young daughter. Unfortunately, her recklessness would have led her to being caught by Plutt's mercenaries, and she would have been taken to Plutt himself. He would learn via interrogation that she is Boba's wife and that she needed the money for her child. Plutt would have been aware of Boba's Force sensitivity, thus revealing to him that his daughter would also have this same gift, which would help her seek out valuable parts of junk that he would be able to sell. He would have decided to act on this idea, contacting Fett and telling him that he had his wife as a hostage. He would have offered Boba's wife back to Boba in exchange for his daughter, who is of course Rey. Boba's undying love for his wife would have forced him into accepting the deal, as his old age would prevent him from taking back his wife by force, plus numerous mercenaries would kill him easily. Reluctantly, Fett would have escorted his young daughter to Jakku, handed her over to Plutt, and in turn receiving his wife back, who was still sick from the drugs and torture she had endured while being interrogated by Plutt's mercenaries. Unfortunately, Boba's wife would have soon died after this due to her sickness, which could be why Fett was so blatantly avoiding Rey, as he just wanted to forget about this tragedy of losing both his wife and daughter and move on with his life in his old age. Well, there you have it, folks. That's my theory on the identity of Rey's parents. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to see me do more of these kind of videos on the channel, just let me know in the comment section down below. And remember, if you liked, please hit that subscribe button like you're a stormtrooper hitting a rebel with a blaster. Actually, don't. You could be there sometime. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more. Bye! Wait, hang on. The whole rise of the Empire thing is totally Jar Jar's fault. I mean, if he hadn't given emergency powers to Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith, none of that would have happened. I knew Jar Jar was evil.